Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is SUKKAH Yud Zayin. We begin right on top at the Mishnah. Suppose he left a 3 tefach gap between the SUKKAH and the walls of a sukkah. So he has his wall, and the SUKKAH, instead of actually touching his doifen, he left a 3 tefach space, which is beyond the shear of Lavid. The wall and SUKKAH are now disconnected. Says the Mishnah, Pissula. Let's go over to Rashi on top. Lav bigvoha kamar. We're not speaking that the wall is not high enough. It's not reaching up to the SUKKAH. El b'mashcha. We're speaking in the area, in the width. So you have a wall, and the SUKKAH is offset. There's a gap between SUKKAH and wall sideways. Psula the aver poisel b'shloisha afilu min hatzad. When you have a 3 tefach gap in your sukkah is puzzle, even though it's off to the side near the wall. It says the Mishnah, Bayis shenifchas v'sichich al gabav. Suppose there was a hole in the ceiling, right? The ceiling partially collapsed, and you placed some SUKKAH al gabav onto that gap. You want to use it as your sukkah. The question is, where are the walls? Can you use the walls of that room? Well, it depends how far they are. If the room walls are 4 amos or more from that SUKKAH kosher, it's too far to connect. But if SUKKAH kosher is within 4 to the walls, then you bend the walls using defen akuma. You bend it along the ceiling until you get to the SUKKAH kosher, which allows it to use the space beneath it. Another example of defen akuma is v'chein chatzer. You have a courtyard, which is surrounded with an overhang. So you have a housing complex, which is shaped like a U. So you have houses, and inside there's a inner courtyard, a chatzer, and it's mukefes achsadra, meaning that there's a canopy, overhang, protruding, extending from the houses into the courtyard, all along that U. He'd like to use the exposed area, the airspace inside this U, as a sukkah. He's going to place some SUKKAH from overhang to overhang, from achsadra to achsadra, and cover the exposed area with SUKKAH. So he has houses like a U. Inside the houses, inside the courtyard, he has some protrusion, some extension, some canopy, some terrace, some overhang, all along that U. Right, and that overhang is not going to be his sukkah. He's going to have SUKKAH positioned on that overhang, meaning going from one overhang on one side to the other. Right? And he's going to cover the entire airspace with SUKKAH. The question is, where are the walls? So he'd like to use the walls of the houses as the sukkah tfanos. So the same concept here. If it's close enough that we could apply defen akuma, then it works. So v'chein chatzer shehu mukavas achsadra, it's surrounded with this canopy, and the canopy is not kosher for SUKKAH, and it was placed not for the sake of sukkah, and he's going to use the branches, the real SUKKAH, which is going to hang, is going to support on that achsadra. So if the walls of the house are close enough to the achsadra, within 4 amos, then it can apply defen akuma. It's as though the walls of that house bend with the achsadra till it reaches the SUKKAH kosher, and now he has a sukkah surrounded with walls. Another example of this halach is sukkah gedola. He has a large size sukkah, and around the sides, around the perimeter of his SUKKAH, he plays something which is not kosher for SUKKAH, something which is mekabel tumah. And he'd like to use the middle of his sukkah, which has SUKKAH kosher. So once again we say, Im yesh tachtav arba amis psula. If the schach pasel on the edges of the sukkah are covering an area of 4 amis, it's too far out. You can no longer connect the walls of a sukkah to the schach kasher. But if it's less than 4, you can apply different akuma, and the sukkah is kasher. Says the Gemara, why 3 cases to illustrate the same halacha? Kol hani lamali. We had a case of the house, or the case of the chatzar, case of the sukkah gedola. Tzricha, all are needed. Each one has a chiddush. Di'ash min abayish nifchas. If only for the first case of a hole in the ceiling, I would say, well, over there it's going to work. Over there we're going to bend the walls of that home towards the schach, towards the sukkah. Mishum dahane mechitzes. Keep in mind that these mechitzes, l'bayis avidan, are there to serve that room, to serve that home. So if I'm committed to you, I bend to help you out. So we're speaking about walls that are meant to serve this dwelling space. And now this dwelling space has been transformed into a sukkah. These walls are committed to enclose, to surround, to serve this area. So when needed, they bend. And they bend along the ceiling until they get to the sukkah. When it comes to a chatzar, which is surrounded by the overhang, the mechitzes lav l'achsadra avidi. Those mechitzes of those homes are meant to serve what? They're not meant to serve the canopy. They're not meant to serve the overhang within the chatzar. Mechitzes of a bayis are serving the bayis, the living quarters inside that home. Perhaps over there, we want to apply different akuma. They're not committed to serve the inner courtyard area, so perhaps they're not going to bend to be machsha the sukkah. Tzricha, chiddush is, even in that case, we say different akuma. V'yeshmin hanitarti. If the Mishnah would only cite these 2 cases, I would say, mishum the schach and schach kasheru. In both cases, the fact is that the material surrounding your sukkah is technically, in its physical substance, is schach kasher. The Gemara is assuming that the home here is the ceiling has boards which are really kasher for sukkah. Likewise, the achsadra, the material is kasher. The problem is, it wasn't done for the sake of sukkah. It was a bias. It was done l'shem dira. But as far as the material substance, it's kasher, and perhaps that would enable Deifin Akuma. Since the material between wall and schach kasher is really schach kasher as well, so that allows you to connect the walls to the sukkah. They can serve a sukkah purpose. They can allow you to bend the wall through that schach, which is technically schach kasher, and get you over to the sukkah itself. However, in the third case, a large-sized sukkah, which was surrounded at the perimeters with something which is not roy for schach, kalim, which are makabel tumah. They don't relate to sukkah. They can't enable the sukkah. They can't connect wall to schach. The schach is schach paselhu. Perhaps over there, you won't say Deifin Akumat Tzricha. Therefore, the Mishnah is mechadish. Yes, in all 3 cases, Deifin Akuma applies. Whether it's material suitable for sukkah, whether unsuitable for sukkah. Fact of the matter is, if the wall is within 4 amis of the schach kasher, you bend it along the contour of the ceiling, of the achsadra, whatever it is, and you connect the wall to the sukkah. Now let's go and discuss a more basic halacha. What is the shear of avir, which is paisel in a sukkah? What's the shear of schach pasel, which is paisel in a sukkah? We're going to have several opinions. Amar Rabba ashkichtinu l'Rabbanan devei Rav. I met the Rabbanan, the Talmidim, who learned in the Beis of Rav. The Yasif v'Kamri, they were sitting and saying over in the name of Rav. Avir paisel b'shleish. If you have empty space in your sukkah, you have airspace, 3 tvachim invalidates the sukkah. Less than 3 is closed off, it's loved. We ignore the gap, but if it's 3 and up, it's already chashav, it's past loved, the sukkah is pasul. SUKKAH pasul, however, pasul barba. If you have SUKKAH pasul on your sukkah, in that case, it's only going to create a psul once you have 4 tefachim of it. And Tosfos later explains the difference between airspace and SUKKAH pasul is as follows, because airspace creates a disconnect, it's a void. So once you have enough of that gap, you've disconnected, you've split your sukkah into 2. So that's why we work with the shir of gimel. Less than 3, you can ignore it. So those closed off. But once it's 3 and up, you can no longer ignore it. You have a gap, you have empty space in your sukkah, which disconnects the sukkah, splits it apart. When it comes to SUKKAH pasul, it's not a void. There's something there. There's a foreign entity sitting on your sukkah. In that case, it's not as bad as aver. So unless you have enough of that SUKKAH pasul, which has chashivas, has prominence, has significance, it covers a space of 4 tefachim, which is a makom chashiv. Now you've created a chatzitza, you've split your sukkah apart, you've disconnected the right side from the left side, and your sukkah is pasul. Now Tosfos here points out, the Ramasal Aver, the Gemara says that aver is pasul, begimel, SUKKAH pasul is pasul ba'arba. Why is it going to invalidate the entire sukkah? If you just have a little airspace, a little SUKKAH pasul so in the middle, he says, you're right, I'm not speaking about a little blotch. I'm speaking where the avir cuts across your sukkah. So let's say you have a wall on the right, wall on the left, wall on the back, and you have some avir airspace cutting right through from top to bottom. You've now disconnected this wall from that wall. You no longer have a properly enclosed sukkah which needs 3 walls. Same thing with SUKKAH pasul. You have a segment of SUKKAH pasul running all across your sukkah. Now you've disconnected the SUKKAH kasher on this side from SUKKAH kasher on that side, and the walls on either side no longer connect and relate to each other. That's what the Gemara means when it says that SUKKAH pasul is paisel the sukkah, or avir is paisel the sukkah. So again, avir works with a 3 tefach limit, SUKKAH pasul with a 4 tefach limit. SUKKAH pasul is more lenient than avir, as we explained. It's not a void, it's not a gap, it's not nothingness, it's something there, which is being masachich. Therefore, the only time you have a disconnect is if you have a significant portion of SUKKAH pasul covering an area of 4 tefachim. That is a choyte between the right side and left side of your sukkah. So this was in the name of Rav, right? The Talmidim of Rav quoting Rav. Va'amina lehu ana. This is Rabbi speaking now. I responded to them, I disagree. Look, I've read the paisel b'shloisha minalahu. How do you know that 3 tefachim of airspace is paisel the sukkah? How do you know? Ma'u Mishnah. That's not hirchages asichuch. Minat fanis shloisha tefachim psula, right? If you left a 3 tefach gap between the wall and the schach, it's paisel. From here you learn that aver is paisel with 3 tefachim. Okay, go down to the next part of the Mishnah. Schach paisel nami le'lif soil. When it comes to SUKKAH pasul, there as well, like lifsal ba'arba amis. You should have until 4 amis, as said in our Mishnah. Snan, by shenifchas v'sichach al gabav. A ceiling collapsed. You placed SUKKAH. Im yesh min hasichach l'koisel dalad amis psul. It's a gap. If the area between the SUKKAH kasher in the middle of that ceiling and the walls on the side is 4 amis or more, then it's a problem. Apparently, even when it comes to SUKKAH pasul, you have up to 4 amis. So why do you say 4 tefachim? V'amrli, they responded to me. How can you compare? Bar minah dahi. That Mishnah, that's not a raya. That's outside the context of our discussion. It doesn't relate to us. It's a different halacha. SUKKAH pasul is paisel when it gets 4 tefachim. There in the Mishnah, speaking about Eifin Akuma, when the SUKKAH pasul off to the side near the wall, yeah, that allows us to bend that wall and connect it to the SUKKAH kasher, provided it's less than 4 amis. It's no halacha meshmei Sinai. The Rav Shmuel Damrit Havayu Shum Deifin Akuma Naguba. That's based on Deifin Akuma. But typically, SUKKAH pasul in the middle of your sukkah, 4 tefachim is enough to be paisel the sukkah. Apparently, Rabbi learned the Mishnah differently. They share a 4 amis in our Mishnah. The general guideline regarding schach pasel. So Aver is 3 tfach, schach pasel is 4 amis. They held no. Aver is 3, but schach pasel, once you get to 4 tfachim, sukkah is pasel. And the conversation continues. Va'amina lehu ano. Rabbi speaking, I responded to them as follows. According to your approach, it's going to result in a paradoxical situation as follows. Ma ilu ika, suppose, picture the following scenario. Ma ilu ika, schach pasel, pachas ma'aba. You have a sukkah which features a segment of schach pasel 4 tfachim wide. It's less than 4 tfachim wide. So less than the shear which is pasel. Okay? And next to it you have airspace. Va'avir pachas mishleish. Mai, what's the halacha there? You have some schach pasel less than 4. Let's say 2 tfachim of schach pasel. No harm. Lying adjacent to airspace less than 4 tfachim, less than 3 tfachim. So 2 tfachim of airspace. Mai, what's the halacha? Sure, of course it's kosher. Because they don't connect, they don't combine. It's 2 different things. And they're based on different shiurim. Airspace is based on a 3 tefach shear. Schach pasel and a 4 tefach shear. They don't relate to each other. They don't combine. Not mitzvah. 2 of this and 2 of that, no problem. Okay, that's pashut. Now let's proceed further. What happens if malye bishfuden? Mai. What if you fill the airspace with rods, which are schach pasel? What happens now? Now you fill the gap with schach pasel. You have a total of 4 tefachim of schach pasel. Psula, of course it's pasel, right? How could that be, says Rabbi? Keep in mind that Avir is more strict than schach pasel, right? What's more severe? What's more damaging? What's more impactful? Avir. What's the raya? How much Avir do you need to be pasel your sukkah? Merely 3 tefachim. When it comes to schach pasel, how much do you need to be pasel your sukkah? 4. So Avir is more harmful, more detrimental than schach pasel, right? So how can you say that when you have 2 tefachim of schach pasel and 2 tefachim of Avir, you're okay? And if you fill that Avir with schach pasel, you're worse off than before? How could schach pasel be more detrimental and damaging than Avir, which is really more chamer than schach pasel? V'lo yehi Avir ha'pasel b'shloisha. She did not say that Avir, which is more strict and severe, in fact, as it creates psul with merely 3 tvachim. It shouldn't have the same value and effect as schach pasel ha'pasel ba'aba. How does that make sense? You would think that Avir is more damaging than schach pasel. You need less Avir to be pasel your sukkah than schach pasel. So Avir is more powerful, more damaging. So how could you say when you have 2 tefach of schach pasel lying next to 2 tefach of Avir, it's fine? So when it's Avir, it's fine. They don't relate, they don't combine, there's no sheer psul. Should you go ahead and fill that Avir with more schach pasel for a total of 4 schach pasel? Now the sukkah is pasel. So schach pasel was more damaging than airspace? So according to you, we have a paradoxical situation, which is illogical. So that was his kasha. V'am release, they responded to me. What does that have to do with us? Let's say you adopt a different shear. Let's follow your shear by schach pasel, 4 amis, okay? Instead of 4 tefachim, 4 amis. It's going to generate the same paradox. Look, if that's the case, according to your opinion as well, the amris schach pasel, pasel barba amis, you maintain schach pasel needs 4 amis to invalidate this sukkah. Okay, let's picture that same story again. Ma'ilu ikas schach pasel, pachas medal amis. Suppose he has less than the required amount of schach pasel, less than 4 amis, lying next to airspace. Va'avir pachas mishleish. Mai, what's the halacha there? So you have less than 4 amis of schach pasel, which according to you is less than the shear, and some airspace right next to it. Mai, of course, it's kshira. You can't combine 2 dissimilar things. Avir is based on one shear, one concept. Schach pasel is a different concept. They don't relate to each other, right? Now you go ahead and fill that airspace with more schach pasel. What happens? Malye b'shfudin mai. You fill the airspace with more schach pasel, Now you have a completed 4 amis of schach pasel. What's the halacha psula? Right? Same kasha. Lo yei aver paisel b'shloisha. Is it conceivable to say that aver, which is more severe than schach pasel, certainly according to you, it's definitely way more severe. Aver impacts the sukkah with merely 3 tfachim. Schach pasel needs 4 amis. It's not as damaging. So how could you say that aver, which is paisel b'shloisha, meaning it's more severe than schach pasel, it's more damaging, should not have the same effect as schach pasel? Because schach pasel ha paisel b'arba amis? How do you say that? It's illogical. So the same kash you had on us will apply to you as well. Again, so you had a case of schach pasel near airspace. Schach pasel had less than the required amount, less than 4 amis. Some airspace less than 3 tfachim. They don't join, they don't combine, they don't relate. Sukkah is kasha. So when it's airspace, you're fine. You fill it with more schach pasel, which completes your share of schach pasel to 4 amis. Now it's pasel. Schach pasel could be more damaging and impactful than airspace, which is more chomer. So why are you challenging us with this riddle? This paradox applies to you as well. However, whatever solution you'll come up with will apply to us too. No, but I responded to them. This is Rabbi speaking. No. This only applies to you, not to me. Why? How could you compare the two positions? It's very much understandable, according to my shita, damina arba amois, because I maintain that the shear of schach pasel is a arba amois based shear. Mishum shiura, v'lav shiuru. How do I get to 4 amois? Shear, alach mishum Sinai. Right? Let's go up to Rashi. Mishum shiura, v'lav shiuru. The arba amois have a shiur lifsel. 4 amois is shear. Upachas mekan in a shear lifsel. Less than that. It's less than a shear. It's not going to be placed. If so, if it's a shear-based concept, right? He holds, like back in the Mishnah, we had schach pasel along the perimeter of your sukkah. If it's less than 4 amis, you're good, not because of deifin akuma, because you bend the wall. Rather, simply because less than 4 amis is not schach pasel, less than a shear. Elakach shiuroi lipsel halachal meshmei Sinai kichal kishar kala shiurim, like any other shear in the Torah. So 4 amis, according to me, this is the Rabbi speaking, is a shiur-based concept. Mishum shiura, v'lav shiuruhu. Continues the Gemara. If so, high lav shiuruhu. And you have some schach pasel less than the shiur of 4 amis, lying next to airspace, less than the shear of 3 tfachim, you don't have the required shear. Why? They don't compare, they don't relate. Even the leishavu shear, right? Ladadi, lemit starfi. You see, this is a general halacha we're going to see soon regarding Tumah. We had this in Yuma regarding Achila and Yom Kippur. When things don't relate to each other, when things are based on different wavelengths, different shiurim, they don't combine. There's no tziruf there, says Rabbah. Of course you can't combine airspace, which is a 3 tefach concept, and schach pasel, which is a 4 amma concept. Apples and oranges, they don't compare. Memela, while it's still airspace, it's apples and oranges. But once you fill it with more schach pasel, it's all one and the same. And of course, now it's pasel. If you have the shear of 4 amis. So it's rational, it's logical, it makes sense. However, what is your position regarding schach pasel? You're not based on a shear, which was accepted by tradition. You're based on the concept of haflaga. How did you get the shear of 4 tfachim? We don't have it in the Mishnah. How did you come up with that number? Apparently it's because of haflaga. What does haflaga mean? Let's see Rashi. 4 lines from the top. Ela leditchu damrisu. Shiura didhu mishum haflaga. Deha arba'a dekamrisu. Leitnanu masnis in schach pasel. We don't have any mentioning of 4 tfachim regarding schach pasel in the Mishnah. What did you get this idea from? You're coming from a universal concept that 4 tefach creates a makom chashav, right? So based on that, you are saying Atem oimrim, she'afsa mokum hu la'atzmai, v'choytes v'sukkah zu, la'asoysa kishtayim. Ve'in tfanis lahem. Therefore you say, the sukkah has 4 tefach of schach pasel, which is being mesachech over a makom chashav, which is considered a significant portion of schach, it's makom chashav. That creates a disconnect between both sides of a sukkah, and there are no longer any walls in the sukkah. Right? The sukkah started out with 3 walls, but now you have a strip of schach pasel running right through your sukkah, and that schach pasel occupies a makom chashav. It's 4 tefachim. That's a chaytis. It's a barrier. It separates the 2 sides of the sukkah. It doesn't allow the wall on this side to relate to the wall on the other side. It's 2 separate structures. If so, says the Gemara, Mali is palag v'chul. Let's go back to the Gemara. If that's true, if it's based on the hafloga concept, creating that disconnection, that separation. If so, says the Gemara, 4 lines from the top, Mali is palag b'schach pasel. What? How could you differentiate between where the hafloga, the gap, the separation, occurs as a result of merely schach pasel being placed there? 4 tefach creates that disconnect between both sides of the sukkah. Mali is palig b'schach pasel va'aver. Or whether that hafloga, that 4 tefach disconnect, is occupied by schach pasel and aver. What difference does it make what you fill that hafloga with? End of the day, 2 sides of the sukkah are now disconnected with a 4 tefach separation. Whether you filled it with schach pasel or share the space with air, doesn't matter. Fact is that there was a haflaga. That's what I meant to ask you, says Rabbah. How could you say that schach pasel and avir won't combine, won't be mitzdaref? According to me, this is not a kasha, because schach pasel has a different shir than avir. We learned from Malach HaMesh Sinai, schach pasel needs to be 4 amis. Different type of material. Doesn't connect, doesn't relate to aver, which is a 3 tefach shir. Work on different tracks, different substances, different psulim. Of course they can't connect. If you have schach pasel less than the required amount, you can't add some airspace to it to be mashlim that shir. But according to you, the din of 4 tefachim by schach pasel is not. It's not an inherent value in the schach pasel. It's not a shear in the schach pasel per se. The problem of schach pasel is because it generates a haflaga. It creates a gap, a separation between the right side of the sukkah and the left side of the sukkah. What difference does it make whether you fill that space with strictly schach pasel or you included some airspace to be mashlim that shear? So that's what I meant to ask you. Now, the Gemara does not relate to what they responded to him, and perhaps their response would be that the sheer arba tefachim as schach pasel isn't strictly because of haflaga. Isn't merely because of that disconnect, in which case perhaps you can put anything there. Schach pasel or aver, they combine. No. The point of schach pasel, as Rashi said, is because of the chashivas. It's a makom la'atzmai. And they're learning, rather than just being a haflaga, a disconnection between right side and left side of your sukkah, the point of the schach pasel is because it's going to create a covered area of psul. Schach pasel is a masachich. It's a masachich over 4 tefachim. That area beneath it is a separate entity. It doesn't relate to the right side or left side of the sukkah. It's a masachich b'psul. And since it's a mokem chashiv, that mokem chashiv now disconnects. It dissects his sukkah, splits it into 2. Because in the middle of your sukkah, you have a sheltered area, a makom chashiv, which is not kosher. So how could you combine schach pasel and aver? Aver is not a mesachich, doesn't create shade and shelter. So that's where they were coming from. It's similar to Rav, meaning, of course, 4 tefachim is because of a makom chashiv. But not just because the schach on top has been disconnected with a gap of 4, which happens to have schach pasel. No. See, according to that approach, yeah, you could put schach pasel and aver there because they can both join together to create that gap. That was Rabbi's taina. They held if it's filled with schach pasel, which creates a schach over a makam chashiv, you create a new entity within your sukkah which doesn't relate to the rest of the sukkah, and that creates the separation, that creates the psul. So that's only if you have schach pasel, which creates that shaded area. But if it's 3 tefach of schach pasel with a little aver doesn't do much. It doesn't create a shaded area. It doesn't create a makam mesuchach of 4 tefachim. Sukkah is kosher. Says the Gemara, Amalei Abaye. So Abaye challenges Rabbi. Ulamar. Mar is Lashon master. Rabbi was Abaye's Rebbe. So Ulamar, he's referring to him. To you, according to you, Rabbi, who explained why. Why is it that Rabbi was saying, according to my shita, that schach pasel is based on a 4 amos shiur? We can very well understand why you cannot combine it with aver, because they're similar. They're based on different shiurim. Says Abaye, Ulamar Nami, according to you as well. We do find one instance, one scenario where aver and schach pasel have a common denominator. They have the same shiur, and that's the case. Then they do somewhat relate to each other, and they can be mitzdaref elsewhere as well. It's a klal we're going to learn in the Mishnah soon. Whenever 2 items have some common denominator, at least in some context, some form, they're based in the same shiur. That creates that similarity and allows them to connect elsewhere as well. Says Abaye, Lamar Nami Nihidalei Shavu Shiuraya B'Sukkah G'dayla. You're right. When it comes to a large size sukkah, airspace works based on 3 tefachim. Schach pasel based on 4 amos. That's true. But we do find one case where they're both based on the same shiur. B'Sukkah K'tana. We have a small size sukkah. Bare bones, minimum 7 by 7 tefachim, meaning it doesn't allow for any discrepancy. In that case, if he has even a little airspace with a little bit schach pasel for a total of 3 tefachim, which is past Lavet, the sukkah ketana is pasel. He can't afford, doesn't have enough to go around. So by sukkah ketana, whatever it is, whether airspace or schach pasel, they're both based on a 3 tefach shiur. So you see they have a common denominator. But sukkah ketana miloi shavu shiurayu. Doesn't airspace and schach pasel have the same shiur there? So since they have a common denominator by sukkah ketana, we should allow them to connect and combine even by sukkah g'dayla. So if you have less than 4 amos of schach pasel adjacent to a bit of airspace, which can theoretically complete the shiur to 4 amos, the sukkah should be pasel. Amalei, Rabbi responded, you're mistaken. By sukkah ketana, you're right that as soon as you get the 3 tefachim, be it airspace, be it schach pasel, be it a combination of both, you've invalidated your sukkah. But that's not because they're working with the same shiur. It's just a default result. It's not because schach pasel and aver are based on the same shiur. Who? The reason why they invalidate the sukkah is because you're left with nothing to use. There's no sukkah left behind. A sukkah needs to be 7 by 7. So you have a little gap, less than 3, a little schach pasel less than 3, less than Lavet, ignore it. Once you have 3 tefachim of improperly covered area, irrelevant of the reason, whether it's because it's airspace or because it's schach pasel, you can't ignore 3 tefachim. So the sukkah now is missing that segment. It's just by default, because it's missing that segment. So in reality, it's not based on the fact that they have the same shiur. It's not a shiur-based psul. As opposed to a sukkah g'dayla, where we're dealing with a shiur-based psul. The sukkah is large enough to accommodate even some airspace and schach pasel. In that case, when we say schach pasel is paisel with 4 amos, it's because it has a shiur of 4 amos. When we say aver is paisel b'gimel, because it's based on a gimel shiur. 2 different shiurim and don't combine. Okay, so let's just summarize briefly. By a sukkah ketana, whatever it is, airspace schach pasel, 3 tefachim, sukkah is pasel. There isn't enough left behind to be machshir sukkah. By a sukkah g'dayla, so if it's airspace, 3 tefachim creates that void, that gap in your sukkah, sukkah's puzzle, according to all shittas. If it's chach puzzle, we have two opinions. Is it 4 tefachim or 4 amis? Continues the Gemara. Let's just dwell on the tziruf concept for a moment. Is that so when two items have different shiurim? They don't combine? Listen to this Mishnah. We're going to have a list of different types of materials. And the Mishnah will enumerate the shiurim, the minimum size requirement for tumas medrus. Which means with the zav, a zava will sit, lie, stand on an item. So the item has to be large enough to accommodate, to serve this person. And depending on the chashivas and the value of the material discussed, we will give a shir based on that chashivas. Habeged shleisha al shleisha, typically material, works with a 3 by 3 tefach shir. Hasak, sack made of goat's hair, which is more coarse and less chashav. Arba al arba, you need 4 by 4 tefachim to become tami tumas medrus. Ha'oir, leather, chamish al chamish, mapatz, a mat, shish al shish. Now what if you run short? Let's say you have a sack material, which is less than 4 by 4. You want to complete it with some material, which is more chashav than the sack. It works. V'tanila, we have a brisa which adds to the Mishnah. Habeged v'asak. You have a sack less than the required amount, less than 4 by 4, and you want to add some material, some beged to that sack to give it the 4 by 4 dimension. That works, because beged stands higher than sack, right? You need less of the beged to become tummy. Apparently it's more chashav. And number 2, as Rashi explains, since the consistency of beged and sack are close to each other, similar material, they combine. Likewise, a sack va'or. Sack could be mashlim de oir. Ha'oir v'hamapatz. The oir could be mashlim de mapatz. Mitzdarf and zemze. How could you mitzdarf things which are totally dissimilar, based on different shiurim? Hasam keduktani tama. The reason there is, as Reb Shimon says, Reb Shimon, we find some common denominator. We find some scenario where they're all based on the same shir. So they share that common thread, which allows them to connect. Ma tam. How could they connect? Since when it comes to tumas moishav, they all work based on a similar shir. Kedesnan hamakatzeh mikulan. If you take any of these materials, be it beged or sack, and you design it, you snip it, you trim it, tefach al tefach tameh. You have a patch which is tefach by tefach, it's tameh, because you can sit on it, because it's roi to serve as zav, as a seat. Tefach al tefach l'may chazi. What can you do with a tefach material? You can use it as a patch on the saddle, on the donkey saddle. So irrelevant of the material discussed, whether it's beged, sack, or they can be used as a patch. In which case they're all based on the tefach by tefach shir. They have that common thread that allows us to be mitzaref them under ordinary circumstances as well. When we need 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 and we're short, we can be mashlim with the other material as well, because they have something in common. And this is similar to our discussion earlier, that when things are totally dissimilar, they can't connect. But when there's some common denominator that allows us to be mitzaref them under all circumstances. Okay, getting back to Sukkah and the Schach Pasal and the Aver. The Surah Amrila, in the town of Surah, in the yeshiva there, Amrila Shmata B'Hailishna. They presented this discussion according to our version, which means that what is the shir of Schach Pasal? Rav says 4 tefachim, and Rabbah says 4 amis. However, Benarda, in the other town, they had a different version. So the same shittas, different names. Benarda Masnu, Omar Vidomar Shmuel. Instead of Rav saying 4 tefachim, was Shmuel. Schach Pasal be'emtza, Pasal ba'arba. You have Schach Pasal located in the middle of your sukkah. 4 tefachim is too much. Minat tzad, but it's off to the side near the wall, where you could apply doifin akuma, right? Pasal ba'arba amis, there you need 4 amis to prevent doifin akuma from taking effect. So if the Schach Pasal is located in the middle of your sukkah, you only have until 4 tefachim. The Rav Amar, Now it was Rav. Instead of Rav, it was Rav, challenging that. And he says, no. Bein benatzad, bein be'emtza, ba'arba amois. Irrelevant of where that schach pasel is located, the middle and the side, you have until 4 amois. Before we continue, let's just summarize the sugya up until this point. So what is needed to be placed on the sukkah? Typically we speak about a sukkah gedola, which means that the sukkah is large enough to accommodate all these psulim, meaning even if you deduct the aver or schach pasel, still have enough to go around, still have 7 by 7. So we had Rav, according to the first version of the Gemara, and it's Shmuel according to the second version. Aver, airspace, once you reach 3, which is past Lavad, sukkah is pasel. Schach pasel, that depends. If it's somewhere in the middle of your sukkah, which creates that haflaga, dalad is pasel, it's a makam chashiv. If it's off to the side, you can apply different akuma, you have up until 4 amas. According to Shitas Rabbah, according to the first version of the Gemara, and it's actually Rabbah according to the second version, when it comes to Aver, 3 is the limit. When it comes to Schach Pasel, whether be'emtza or menatzad, you have until 4 amas, which is the shear. Learned through the Melech Moshe Sinai for Schach Pasel. All agree by a Sukkah Ketana, which is just large enough to accommodate the Hechsher Sukkah. It doesn't allow for any discrepancies. In that case, irrelevant of whether it's Aver or Schach Pasel or a combination of both together, the Sukkah's Pasel, once you reach a share of Gimel, which is beyond Lavet, you have to reckon with it. Now you're missing that section. So that improperly covered section is no longer reckoned as part of your Sukkah. Now you don't have Zayin al Zayin, Sukkah's Pasel. Continues the Gemara. Tanan, let's take a look at the Mishnah back on Daf Yudalet. No son aleho neser, shu rochav arba tefachim kshira. If you used a 4 tefach wide plank and placed it on a sukkah, sukkah is kosher. Now, a 4 tefach wide plank is chach pasel. You may remember the sugya in Daf Yudalet where we learned that one is meant to refrain from using boards which appear like construction material, because he might end up sitting in his house. He'll say, well, a board in my sukkah is like the board in my home, and I'll sit in his home. It's called Gzeras Tikra. Mishnah says, if he takes a board which is 4 tefach wide, which is chach pasel, with the Rabbanon, sukkah is kosher. So now let's analyze the Mishnah. How could the sukkah still be kosher, even though you have a 4 tefach wide plank cutting right across your sukkah? Rav. Now, this is understandable according to Rav, which is referring to the second version of Rav, which is the Amar bein be'emtza bein menatzad ba'arba amos. The shear of schach pasel is 4 amos. Here it's less than 4 amos. That's why your sukkah is kosher. El l'shmo the Amar be'emtza ba'arba, but according to Shmuel, 4 tefachim schach pasel in the middle of your sukkah is pasel the sukkah. I'm like shear. So why is the sukkah kosher when it has a 4 tefach plank? We're speaking that plank is along the side, near the wall. So all it's chach pasel, we apply defin akuma, which gives you up until 4 amos. Tashma, another right. Brisa says, Shnei sadinim mitzdarfen. Sheets which are makabel tumah, and lying side by side, 2 tefach sheet next to another 2 tefach sheet. So you have a total of 4 tefach of schach pasel mitzdarfen. And now the sukkah is pasel. Shnei nesarim ein mitzdarfen. But if you have 2 of these boards, don't worry about it. This is Shitas Rabbi Yehuda, who's not concerned about Gzeras Tikra. He holds a Sukkah Gzeras Kva. It's meant to look, meant to have a little permanence. Don't worry about Gzeras Tikra. He's not going to live in his house instead of the Sukkah. He realizes there's a Sukkah. So boards lying side by side, don't combine. And not paisel the Sukkah. Rabbi Meir Eimer, no, Nisar Mekasadim. Just as sheets can join each other to create a pasel sukkah, because sheets are schach pasel. Likewise, nisarim planks, 4 tefach wide planks, which appear like roofing material, we consider it schach pasel. Let's analyze the words of the brisa. Bishlam lahach lishna. So now this is very much understood according to the second lashon of the Gemara, the most recent version. The Amar Rav bein be'emtza bein menatzad ba'arba amos. That wherever the schach pasel is situated, whether in the middle of your sukkah, the side, you have until 4 amos. That's a shear for schach pasel. My mitzdarfen dal amos. That's what Meir says. Boards which are considered schach pasel, you have enough of them for a total of 4 amos. The sukkah is pasel. That's why he uses the word mitzdarif. Because 4 tefachim, although 4 tefach board is considered schach pasel, but you need the required amount of schach pasel, which is 4 amis. So you have enough lying side by side to get the 4 amis, the sukkah is pasel. Elach lishna damarav. But according to the first version of the Gemara, where Rav maintained, be'emtza ba'arba, schach pasel, located in the middle of your sukkah, is paisel the sukkah once it reaches 4 tefachim. What does Rameya mean? Mitzdarfen. Hey Chidami, what are we speaking about in this brisa? Idis budalad. If it's a 4 tefach plank, lamahu it's tarufi. Why do you have to connect it to something else? It's chach pasel, and it covers 4 tefachim. So it's pasel. It's less budalad, but if it's suppose less than 4 tefach board, kani ba'almaninu. They're just sticks. There's no xeris ticker for narrow boards. So what was the Brisa speaking about? Lo'elam de isbu arba. Certainly we're speaking about a 4 tefach plank, which is considered schach pasel, xeris ticker, not meant to use it. Umay mitzdarfen. When Rameya says it's mitzdarf, he means mitzdarfen la'arbamis minat sad. It wasn't located in the middle of your sukkah, it was off to the side, where you can apply different akuma. So over there, if it's merely 4 tefachim, there's no concern. If you have enough lying side by side for a total of 4 amos, now you have a problem on your hands because sukkah is out of reach. The wall can no longer bend to get to the sukkah. Tashma, listen to this right. The Brisa said, "Sichacha ben esoran shaleres." What if you use these cedar boards for a sukkah? Sheyesh ben dald. Each one is 4 tefachim wide. Tivra kol psula, all agree sukkah is pasel. And you may recall the Gemara in Daf Yudalad used this Brisa as a right to the other approach in the Gemara there that there's no machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Meir regarding wide boards. Everyone agrees it's chach pasel. Okay, so once it's 4 tefachim, it's chach pasel. It resembles building material, xeris ticker. Eimba and Dalad, if they're less than 4 tefachim. Then we have a shaila, how far, to what extent do we apply xeris ticker? Typically, roofing boards were 4 tefachim wide, at least 4 tefachim wide. So all agree that's a problem. But if it's less than 4, between 3 and 4, that's a shady area. Rameir Paisli says it resembles roofing boards closely enough, and therefore we have the gzera there as well. Rabbi Yehuda Makshi says less than 4 is not typically used for roofing material. Don't worry about it. Umaydir Rabbi Meir, even though Rabbi Meir is machmer, he's going to be maskim. He's going to agree in the following case: the sukkah is kosher. Shem yesh bein neser leneser kemaloi neser. Suppose he has a sukkah plastered with those boards, but then he went ahead and he removed. Originally, he left a gap between boards. The space between boards is kemaloi neser. It's the same size as the board itself. So let's say he has a 4 tefach board next to 4 tefach space, another 4 tefach board, 4 tefach space. He alternates between boards and space. In that case, the sukkah is kosher. Shemaniach psal benem. He's going to place some schach kasha between the boards. It's okay. End quote. That's the Bryce. Let's analyze the Bryce. Bishleim lamand omar bein be'emtze. Bein benatzad bedalad amois. According to that approach, schach pasel is only paisel if it has 4 amois. Mishmachik shera. That's why in this case the sukkah is kosher, because the board is merely 4 tefachim wide. It's not 4 amois. Ela lamand omar be'emtza barba, according to the shita that once you have 4 tefachim of schach pasel, your sukkah is pasel. I'm like, sure, why is this sukkah kosher? You have 4 tefach planks running right through it. So according to the shita, that it's only going to invalidate the sukkah for amis. So in this case, sukkah is still kosher. You can't sit under the 4 tefach board because it's schach pasel, but the sukkah is still kosher. But according to the shita that 4 tefachim of schach pasel already splits up your sukkah and validates it, how can you use a sukkah plaster with these boards? 4 tefach boards. Amar Rav Huna ben Yeshua, we're speaking about a unique case here. We're speaking about a sukkah which is exactly 8 amas wide. 8 amas is 48 tefachim, 8 times 6. And he's not going to sit under those boards, you're right. And we'll consider those boards as part of the wall. How? So you're starting with 48 tefachim. V'yoiv neser upesel. So you start at the end. You put a board, 4 tfachim, upesel, 4 tfachim of schach. V'neser, 4 tfachim, upesel, another 4 tfachim. V'neser, 4 tfachim, another pesel, 4 tfachim. Mahagis for one side. So you alternate board, schach, board, schach, board, schach. You do the same thing from the other side. V'neser, which is 4 tfachim, upesel, which is 4 tfach. V'neser, upesel, v'nesel, upesel. Mahagis from the other side. So you have board, schach, board, schach, board, schach. In the middle you have a double segment of schach, kosher. 4 tfachim and 4 tfachim. This is hechsher sukkah. Total of 8 tfachim, that's fine. And the sides are doif nakuma. That's what he meant. The havel shnei psalim be'emtza. You have 2 segments of schach kosher middle of your sukkah. V'yike hechsher sukkah be'emtza, which gives you the required amount. 8 tfachim of psal. That's all he meant. He didn't mean to sit under the sides. He didn't mean that the sides are part of the sukkah. All those nisarim and psalim are considered doif nakuma. Right? You have 6 sections. Board, schach, board, schach, board. The doif nakuma ends right there. It's 5 times 4 is 20. It's less than 4 amis, which is 24 tfachim. Right? 6 times 4 is 24. So until 20 tfachim you're safe. Doif nakuma until that point. And the sukkah begins right in the middle. Right at that schach kosher. 2 segments of schach kosher. Each one being 4 tfachim wide. That's the sukkah. Okay, let's just quickly recap today's daf. We learned about things that are posel the sukkah, and we learned about doif nakuma as well. When it comes to airspace, 3 tfachim is enough of a gap to invalidate the sukkah. Schach pasel have machlekas. Some say 4 tfachim, some say 4 amis. Now, even if you hold 4 tfachim, but that's only be'emtza. But if the schach is located at the perimeters, at the end of the sukkah near the wall, then we bend that wall, provided it's less than 4 ames from wall to schach kosher. Or they'll read that by a sukkah katana, which doesn't allow for any extras. In that case, regardless of whether it's airspace or schach pasel or a combination of both, once you've reached Lavet, you've reached past Lavet, 3 tfachim, you have to reckon with that. You have to deduct it from the sukkah. And the sukkah doesn't have enough to go around. So you're left with less than 7 tfachim. And the sukkah is possible. Kol tov to you and much hatzlacha.